Self-respect changes everything. The moment you truly understand your worth, your entire life begins to shift in ways you never imagined. It changes how you speak, how you walk, how you think, and most importantly, what you allow. Self-respect is not pride. It is not arrogance. It is not looking down on others. It is simply the quiet decision that you will no longer accept less than you deserve. It is the deep understanding that your time, your energy, your body, your mind, and your dreams are valuable. When you develop self-respect, you stop begging for attention. You stop chasing validation. You stop shrinking yourself so others can feel comfortable. You no longer tolerate disrespect disguised as jokes. You no longer entertain confusion in relationships. You no longer negotiate your standards just to avoid being alone. Self-respect changes your relationships. You begin to attract people who value you because you value yourself. The people who only wanted access without responsibility slowly disappear. And that is not a loss. That is alignment. When you respect yourself, your boundaries become clear. You learn to say no without guilt. You understand that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. You stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided to misunderstand you. Self-respect changes your work ethic. You stop procrastinating because you understand that your future deserves effort. You stop settling for mediocrity because you know you are capable of excellence. You begin to hold yourself accountable not out of fear, but out of honor for the person you are becoming. Self-respect changes your mindset. You no longer speak negatively about yourself. You stop replaying old mistakes as proof that you are not enough. Instead, you see them as lessons. You understand that growth requires discomfort. You forgive yourself. You learn. You improve. Self-respect also changes how you handle rejection. When something does not work out, you do not see it as a confirmation that you are unworthy. You see it as redirection. You realize that not every door is meant for you, and you stop forcing what clearly does not fit. Many people struggle in life not because they lack talent or intelligence, but because they lack self-respect. They stay in situations that drain them. They accept crumbs when they deserve a full table. They silence their voice to avoid conflict. Over time, this creates resentment and regret. But the day you decide that enough is enough, everything begins to transform. Self-respect teaches you patience. You stop rushing into things just because you are afraid of missing out. You understand that what is meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself to keep it. Self-respect teaches you discipline. You wake up even when you do not feel like it. You choose long-term rewards over short-term comfort. You invest in your health, your skills, your mindset. Not because someone is watching, but because you are watching. Self-respect teaches you confidence. Not loud confidence that needs to prove something, but calm confidence that knows. You enter rooms without trying to compete. You speak without trying to impress. You carry yourself with quiet strength. And here's the truth. The world treats you based on the standards you set. If you accept disrespect once, it becomes easier for others to repeat it. If you accept excuses once, they multiply. But when you set clear standards, people adjust or they exit. Both outcomes serve you. Self-respect may cost you certain friendships. It may cost you certain relationships. It may cost you certain opportunities that required you to compromise your values. But what you gain is far greater. You gain peace. You gain clarity. You gain power. You begin to understand that loneliness is better than constant disrespect. Silence is better than constant confusion. Growth is better than comfort. Self-respect changes everything because it changes you first. It changes the way you think about your past. You stop defining yourself by what happened to you. You start defining yourself by who you choose to become. You stop waiting for apologies that may never come. You give yourself closure. It changes the way you approach your future. You stop doubting every decision. You trust your intuition. You trust your preparation. You trust that even if you fail, you will learn and rise again. Self-respect is choosing yourself daily. It is waking up and deciding that you deserve better habits, better conversations, better environments, and better outcomes. It is not about being perfect. It is about being intentional. You will still have bad days. You will still make mistakes. You will still feel insecure sometimes. But self-respect ensures that you never abandon yourself in those moments. You speak kindly to yourself. You hold yourself accountable. You keep moving forward. If you want your life to change, start with self-respect. Respect your time enough to stop wasting it. Respect your dreams enough to work for them. Respect your body enough to take care of it. Respect your mind enough to protect it. Respect your heart enough to guard it. The moment you raise your standards internally, your external reality begins to reflect it. Self-respect changes everything because it shifts your identity. And when your identity changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your habits change. When your habits change, your results change. So today, make a decision. Decide that you will no longer tolerate what drains you. Decide that you will no longer shrink to fit spaces that do not value you. Decide that you will no longer doubt your worth. Stand tall in who you are becoming. Self-respect is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not performative. It is quiet strength. It is consistent standards. It is unwavering belief in your own value. And once you truly embrace it, everything in your life begins to align. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, not because challenges disappear, not because people magically treat you perfectly, but because you are no longer out of alignment with yourself. When you embrace self-respect, your choices start to reflect your value. You stop entertaining what confuses you. You stop negotiating with what disrespects you. You stop shrinking to fit spaces that were never designed for your growth. Instead, you begin to move with clarity. Everything begins to align because your standards become clear. You are no longer desperate for approval. You are no longer driven by fear of rejection. You are guided by conviction. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. And that certainty shapes every decision you make. Your relationships begin to align. You attract people who respect your boundaries because you respect them first. Conversations become healthier. Connections become deeper. You no longer chase people who only show up when it benefits them. You choose mutual effort over one-sided attachment. Your career begins to align. You stop settling for environments that undervalue your skills. You pursue opportunities that challenge you and help you grow. You invest in learning, improving, and becoming better. Not to impress others, but because you believe your potential deserves development. Your mindset begins to align. The negative voice that once questioned your worth grows quieter. You replace self-doubt with self-awareness. You stop speaking about yourself in ways you would never speak about someone you love. You understand that your mind is powerful and you guard it carefully. Your habits begin to align. You wake up with intention. You take care of your health. You manage your time wisely. You build routines that support the future you envision. You no longer sabotage your progress with excuses because you respect your goals. Too much to betray them. Your peace begins to align. Drama becomes less attractive. Chaos becomes exhausting. You start choosing environments that nourish your spirit instead of draining it. You realize that protecting your peace is not weakness. It is wisdom. Self-respect also aligns your reactions. When someone disrespects you, you do not explode. You also do not tolerate it silently. You respond calmly and clearly. You either correct it or remove yourself. There is power in knowing you do not need to argue to prove your worth. It aligns your confidence. Not loud confidence that seeks validation, but steady confidence rooted in self-trust. You trust your decisions. You trust your growth. You trust your ability to recover from setbacks. Even when things do not go your way, you remain grounded because your value is not dependent on outcomes. And slowly life feels different. You no longer feel pulled in 100 directions trying to please everyone. You feel centered. You feel focused. You feel in control of your path. You understand that alignment is not about perfection. It is about integrity. It is about living in a way that matches your values. When self-respect becomes your foundation, you stop chasing what is not meant for you. You stop forcing doors that refuse to open. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You allow what belongs in your life to flow naturally, and you release what does not without bitterness. That is alignment. Alignment is when your thoughts, words, and actions agree with each other. Alignment is when your standards match your behavior. Alignment is when your inner voice supports you instead of sabotaging you. Self-respect changes everything because it changes how you see yourself. And once you see yourself clearly, you stop accepting blurred treatment from others. You begin to understand that your value is not up for debate. Your time is not cheap. Your dreams are not unrealistic. Your boundaries are not unreasonable. You realize that you do not need to beg to be chosen. You do not need to prove your worth to be respected. You do not need to sacrifice your identity to be loved. And from that place of strength, your life starts to align in powerful ways. Opportunities align with your standards. People align with your energy. Habits align with your goals. Peace aligns with your priorities, all because you made one decision, to respect yourself fully and consistently. And as this alignment deepens, you begin to notice something powerful. The chaos that once defined your life no longer controls it. The confusion that once clouded your decisions becomes clearer. The insecurity that once whispered lies about your worth loses its volume. Self-respect does not just change your environment. It transforms your identity. You begin to walk differently, not with arrogance but with assurance. You speak differently, not to impress but to express. You think differently, not from fear but from strength. You stop reacting emotionally to everything that once triggered you. You pause. You assess. You choose your response carefully. That pause alone can change the direction of your life. Self-respect teaches you emotional maturity. It reminds you that not every battle deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every invitation deserves your presence. You become selective. Selective with your time. Selective with your energy. Selective with your circle. Selective with your goals. And in that selectiveness, you find power. There was a time when you tolerated less because you doubted yourself. You accepted excuses because you feared losing people. You stayed quiet because you were afraid of being misunderstood. But now you understand that losing what disrespects you is not a loss. It is protection. Self-respect strengthens your resilience. When life tests you, you do not collapse. You may bend, but you do not break. You understand that setbacks are temporary, but your worth is permanent. You understand that growth is uncomfortable, but stagnation is dangerous. So you choose growth. You choose to confront your weaknesses instead of hiding from them. You choose to improve instead of complain. You choose to rise instead of retreat. Self-respect also demands responsibility. It forces you to look at your own patterns. It challenges you to ask hard questions. Are your habits aligned with your goals? Are your standards reflected in your behavior? Are you honoring the promises you make to yourself? This is where real transformation happens. Because self-respect is not just about how others treat you. It is also about how you treat yourself. Do you speak kindly to yourself? Do you forgive yourself for past mistakes? Do you hold yourself accountable when you fall short? True self-respect means you refuse to be your own worst enemy. It means you stop sabotaging your progress with doubt. It means you stop comparing your journey to someone else's timeline. It means you focus on your lane, your growth, your vision. And the more you honor yourself, the more your life reflects that honor. Doors begin to open that once seemed locked. Conversations become more meaningful. Your confidence becomes steady and unshakable. Your peace becomes non-negotiable. You realize that alignment is not something you chase. It is something you create through consistent self-respect. Every time you say no to what diminishes you, you say yes to what elevates you. Every time you walk away from what drains you, you move closer to what fulfills you. Every time you honor your boundaries, you strengthen your identity. Self-respect changes your standards. And your standards change your reality. You no longer settle for almost. You no longer entertain half-effort. You no longer accept love that feels like confusion. You choose clarity. You choose growth. You choose dignity. And perhaps the most powerful shift of all is this. You stop seeking permission to exist fully as yourself. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You stop shrinking your dreams to make them comfortable for others. You stop doubting your ability to rise higher. You understand that your life is your responsibility. Your happiness is your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. That realization is freedom. Freedom from external validation. Freedom from toxic cycles. Freedom from the fear of being alone. Because when you truly respect yourself, you are never alone. You are anchored in your own strength. And from that strength, you build a life that reflects your values, your purpose, and your potential. Self-respect changes everything because it changes you at the core. And once you change at the core, nothing around you can remain the same. And as you continue this journey, you begin to realize that self-respect is not a destination. It is a daily practice. It is a conscious decision you make over and over again, especially on the days when it feels hardest. There will be moments when old habits try to return, moments when loneliness whispers that you should lower your standards just to feel wanted, moments when fear suggests that you should play small to stay accepted, moments when doubt tells you that maybe you are asking for too much. But self-respect reminds you that you are not asking for too much. You were simply accepting too little before. Growth will test you. There will be seasons where choosing yourself feels uncomfortable. You may outgrow certain environments. You may outgrow certain conversations. You may even outgrow versions of yourself that once felt familiar. That process can feel lonely, but it is necessary, because elevation requires separation. Self-respect will sometimes require you to walk alone for a while. It will require you to disappoint people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. It will require you to say no when you used to say yes. It will require you to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. But in that discomfort, something powerful is being built. Discipline is being built. Clarity is being built. Strength is being built. Identity is being built. You begin to understand that self-respect is deeply connected to self-trust. When you honor your boundaries, you prove to yourself that your voice matters. When you keep promises to yourself, you build confidence. When you follow through on your goals, you strengthen belief in your abilities. Each small act of self-respect compounds over time. Choosing to wake up early when you want to sleep. Choosing to study when you want to scroll. Choosing to speak up when you want to stay silent. Choosing to walk away when you want to hold on. These small decisions shape your character, and your character shapes your destiny. You will notice that the more you respect yourself, the less external chaos affects you. Opinions lose their power. Criticism becomes information instead of insult. Rejection becomes redirection instead of devastation. You stop internalizing everything. You stop assuming that every negative outcome is a reflection of your worth. You begin to separate your identity from your circumstances. This is maturity. This is strength. This is alignment in action. Self-respect also transforms your ambition. You no longer chase success just to prove something to others. You pursue excellence because it reflects who you are becoming. Your motivation becomes internal rather than external. You stop competing with people. You start competing with your previous self. And that shift changes everything. When you compete with your previous self, progress becomes personal. Improvement becomes meaningful. You measure success by growth, not applause. Self-respect teaches you to celebrate your own milestones, the quiet victories, the internal battles won, the habits improved, the fears confronted. It teaches you to honor your journey, even when it is not glamorous. There will be times when no one sees your effort, times when your growth feels invisible, times when your standards cost you opportunities. But you continue anyway, because you understand that integrity is more valuable than approval. Integrity is self-respect in action. You start building a life that reflects your values instead of trends. You choose long-term fulfillment over short-term attention. You choose depth over distraction. And slowly you notice that the life you once prayed for begins to take shape. Healthier relationships, clearer goals, stronger mindset, greater peace. Not because life became easy, but because you became solid. Self-respect also changes how you love. You love without losing yourself. You care without abandoning your boundaries. You give without depleting your identity. You understand that love should complement your life, not consume it. You understand that partnership should add value, not create chaos. And if it does not, you have the strength to walk away. That is power. True power is not control over others. It is control over yourself. It is the ability to choose your response, the ability to stand firm in your standards, the ability to remain grounded in your identity. When you fully embrace self-respect, you stop living in reaction mode. You start living in intention mode. You choose where your energy goes. You choose who has access to you. You choose how you spend your time. You choose how you speak to yourself. And those choices create a life of alignment. Over time, you realize that self-respect is not loud. It does not need constant announcements. It is seen in consistency. It is felt in presence. It is reflected in discipline. It shows up in how you carry yourself. It shows up in how you handle conflict. It shows up in how you pursue your goals. It shows up in what you refuse to tolerate. Self-respect changes everything because it redefines your baseline. What once felt normal now feels unacceptable. What once felt intimidating now feels manageable. What once felt impossible now feels achievable. You evolve. And evolution is not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. There will be days when you question your growth, days when you feel tired, days when progress seems slow. In those moments, remember that self-respect is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Keep honoring your boundaries. Keep choosing growth. Keep trusting your path. Keep showing up for yourself. Every time you do, you reinforce your value. Self-respect changes everything because it changes the foundation of your life. When you respect yourself, you think differently. When you think differently, you decide differently. When you decide differently, you act differently. And when you act differently, your results change. It starts within. The way you speak to yourself, the way you treat yourself, the standards you set, the boundaries you enforce, the promises you keep. You cannot control the entire world around you, but you can control how you show up in it. You can control your integrity. You can control your effort. You can control your response. And that control is freedom. So choose yourself daily. Choose growth over comfort. Choose dignity over desperation. Choose peace over chaos. Choose alignment over approval. Stand firm in your worth. Honor your standards. Protect your energy. Build your future. Because once you truly embrace self-respect, everything in your life begins to align. And when your life aligns with your values, nothing can shake you. Self-respect changes everything.